그러면 가자 가보자.
Perhaps McAnally is somebody who had a very good junior career, a former top 10 in the juniors. Actually, Chrissy just won a doubles title with Coco Gauff in Washington. She came out, she was fearless. There's a lot in her game that I felt that could disrupt Serena. She gets a lot of balls back, has a nice backhand slide, so it's a tricky kind of opponent for Serena, as opposed to Sharapova, who's a power player. I think the balls of Sharapova, I think, very comfortable for Serena. So it's just another test for Serena. She's going to get different types of tests throughout this fortnight.
Yeah, she's certainly getting it. And she wasn't the only one that was struggling last night. There was also some concern that Novak Djokovic, who at one point looked as though he might not be able to finish his second round match against Juan Ignacio due to shoulder pain. And in fact, afterwards, he said as much. Take a listen.
It has caused hindrance to my game for sure tonight, especially with the serve and backhand, and it was not easy to play with this kind of sensation. To be honest, I did not experience that too many times in my career. The way it has started for me, especially midway through the first set, I didn't know if I will be able to, finish the match. So I'm really glad I have.
Ravi, I mean, I watch tennis, and even for me, this feels like it came a little bit out of left field, and it looks as though this is kind of snuck up on Djokovic. How serious is this?
I think it's pretty serious, Chrissy, because it appeared yesterday during that medical timeout he had to take a tablet, and he doesn't usually like to do that stuff. He's always been described as a naturalist. He doesn't like to put different stuff into his body. And you could just see on his face in his press conference how dejected he looks. He also said that it's been going on for a few weeks now, which might have explained a little bit his defeat to Daniel Medvedev in Cincinnati. But I think it's a worry, because some might say, okay, it's only the left shoulder, it's not the serving shoulder, but obviously it affects him on the backhand, which is his most steadiest shot. Is probably one of the best backhands in the history of the men's game, and also on the serve, it affects you because that's where you're tossing the ball up. So I think certainly it is an area of concern. We've seen him get over injury problems in the past during matches, but I fear the way he was talking, this is something quite different.
Yeah, we'll have to keep a close eye on that one. Also, last night, Roger Federer, of course, through, but once again in 4 sets, dropping a set the second time in this tournament against Demir Zuma. That 5-set loss against Djokovic is very much in the rear-view mirror now, isn't it, from Wimbledon? But I can't help but wonder if it's still a factor. This slow start that Federer is experiencing, does it have anything still to do with that?
It could be a factor. That could be one of the things. It could also be the fact that he played under the roof yesterday on Arthur Ashe, where it seems like it's much more difficult to breathe. We saw him change quite a number of shirts. And Chrissy, here's a stat for you. It's the first time ever in his career, 20 years, that he's lost the first set in his first 2 rounds of a Grand Slam. When you couple that with the fact that he hasn't won the US Open since the 2008 edition, and that's his longest drought at a Grand Slam, maybe you would say it doesn't look all that great for him. But then, this injury to Djokovic, how is that going to play into it? You think he's not a little bit thinking, oh, well, it could be an opportunity here if he get to the semifinals and not necessarily even play Djokovic? But I must say, the man who's looking really good now is Rafael Nadal.
I know. This is looking so good for him, isn't it? When you consider that 4 of the top 10 seeds are out as well, and most of them inside, or all of them, in his side of the draw, right?
All in his half. So you had Tsitsipas in particular. You also had Dominic Thiem, and you also had Karen Khachanov. You look at those guys who've just exited the event. Now, last year, Chrissy, at the US Open, it was Khachanov who took Rafa to 4.5 hours. It was Thiem who took him to 5 hours. Tsitsipas beat him on a clay court this year. So, I mean, that's a lot of, I think, potential danger, roadblocks that are not going to be in his way any longer. So I think that things are looking very good for him. I think he has a tricky matchup today against Thanasi Kokkinakis, who once beat Roger Federer, could face Fernando Verdasco. But I think actually if he gets past the 3rd round, he's looking very good for Rafa.
And speaking of Rafa, we are about 15 minutes away from day 4 getting underway in New York, where Nadal, as you just heard, will take on the Australian Thanasi Kokkinakis. Meantime, women's top seed Naomi Osaka faces Poland's Magda Linette, and 15-year-old American Coco Gauff battles it out against Hungarian Timea Babos. And Osaka and Gauff could actually meet each other in the 3rd round if they both make it through. All right, well, coming up next on World Sport, we'll be looking ahead to tonight's Champions League draw and the trio of players up for the UEFA Player of the Year award. They're not just enormously talented, they're teammates.
It was a day of firsts at the Judo World Championships. Sagi Muki became Israel's first ever male world champion after he defeated Matthias Casse of Belgium in a hotly contested final. With the travelling Israeli fans cheering him on, he was absolutely elated to stand atop the podium. Mr. Raffaele Ciuli, president of the Global Association of International Sports Federations, awarded Muki his medal. After an epic contest going over 11 minutes, Clarissa Begnanou became the first ever French woman to claim an incredible 4 world titles, defeating her friend and rival Toshiro Niku of Japan. These two great judoka sharing a beautiful moment of friendship. Mr. Jean-Luc Rouget, General Secretary of the International Judo Federation and President of the French Judo Federation, awarded Begnanou her 4th world crown. So for today only, 4 is the magic number.
Well, Dutch giant Ajax won over so many fans with their performances last season, and they were back in Champions League qualifier action on Wednesday, having lost some of its stars of last season to bigger clubs over the summer. It was one of the new arrivals who opened the scoring, Mexican international Edson Alvarez. The well-placed header shortly before the half-time break there, and it was new captain Dusan Tadic who wrapped things up with 10 minutes to go. The Dutch champs progressing 2-0 on aggregate. So that means Ajax has now joined the total of 32 teams in the Champions League draw, who will find out which group stage opponents await them today when the draw takes place in Monaco at 6 p.m. local time. The teams have been split into 4 pots, with the top one containing the holders Liverpool, former champions Chelsea, as well as champions of 6 highest ranked nations, Manchester City, Barcelona, Juventus, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain and Zenit St. Petersburg. And by our calculations here on World Sport, this could be a pretty good bet for the so-called group of death. How about Liverpool, Real Madrid, Inter Milan and Galatasaray? Or another scenario, Barcelona, Spurs, Inter and RB Leipzig. Well, before all is revealed later, we will also find out the winners of this year's UEFA Player of the Year, which will be announced during the ceremony. Now, for the men, this award is always viewed as something of a precursor to the